Give a shit. Oh, actually, here you go. Here's all my placements. Let's do this quick little video. Hi, Tony Scungili here. This is not really a video. I'm just putting it over because I'm lazy for today's video content. We'll do better videos in the future. This is the placement I have for all my characters. It works for me. Whether it works on auto sim in Blitz, or in raids, or in war, or on defense, those things are situational at best. But here's all the war placements. Are you ready? Let's go. Starting number 1, this is my Black Order placement. Why? I want Maw as far away from Cole as possible because I want him to survive. And then these two idiots over here, whichever one is most likely to tank the hit, I want that one in the middle. So this is how I use the team. These two guys are the auto damage guys. He's alive long enough to survive and do his stuff. And these two are just next to each other so that chain attacks and combo attacks have a chance of causing him to counter. Marauders, Strife, Emma. That's it. That's the only thing. The placement of the characters here, Sabretooth is tanky, so I want him next to the Taunter. If my Sabretooth is weaker than my Mystique, I would put Mystique here. Basically, whoever is tanky as a character, a lot of health, and can afford to take the hit, I want next to Strife. I want Sinister somewhere away from them, so maybe switching these two is fine. But this is generally the positioning that I've been a fan of for that. Symbiotes, literally, there is no correct placement. I have moved the placement around a lot. I will say, if you notice what I've done, I've put the squishiest characters on the team towards the back. And I think that's more important than, like, the lowest powered characters, because if one of them dies, you want to be able to separate the team to prevent chaining in the future. So if he dies, then Symbiote Spider-Man's alive and these guys are together. If she dies, these guys are alive and he's solo. There's really no way to control it, so that's just what I've done. There's no correct placement. As Guardians, Sif, garbage character, best characters. Loki is a little squishy, so you can put him as far away from Sif as possible because you don't want him getting involved. But what you want is to take the targets that are likely to be hit and make sure that Thor gains charges off of it. So I have Sif here, I have Heimdall here because I could care less if he lives or dies. And then I just make sure that Hela, Loki, and Thor are in some combination of strength to weakness. Realistically, it would probably be best to go Loki, Thor, Hela, just to go like weakest, second weakest, third weakest, but that's its own conversation. What do we got here? Black Order. So I don't actually like this placement on the Black Order, so I'm going to fix it. I'm sorry, Black Order. Inhumans. I like the Inhumans placement a little bit better like this. Cool. Reason why is they all get dodges, but like these are the ones that are most likely to dodge on their own right. Does that make sense? Like Black Bolt, ugh, garbage. Sif is a garbage character. Sorry guys. Okay. So she can dodge on her own right, like without worrying about giving it. And Black Bolt can tank on his own right, but also will get a decent dodge. These two characters truly don't make a difference, and Crystal can kind of sustain herself and everybody else, so she can take a couple of extra hits through the game, and obviously the stronger she is, the better. But I like this placement on the team. I could hear an argument for swapping these two characters if Crystal is a little bit higher up in value, but like who cares if Quake dies and who cares if Karnak dies? These are the three that are going to win the fight, keep them in the middle to keep the dodges and the chaining to a minimum. What do we got? We got here is the Killmonger Mercs. Basically, it doesn't matter where Killmonger is or who Killmonger is. Could be a mercenary, could be Korath. I like the placement here because I like the adjacencies on the key characters. I like him giving more deflects. I like him giving a little bit of heal and, to adjacent characters on hits. And I like the weak characters having the ability to sustain himself. The reason he's here is because he sustains himself on his own. I don't need to worry about these idiots giving him more sustainability. Every time he takes a turn, he's going to gain some health back. And I want him survivable, but not so survivable that, like, I'm losing damage on the process. So this is basically the setup I use for him. You'll see everything shift a little. Like, you can have him in the middle, these two guys adjacent, and then, like, we could put, like, Bullseye here, and then slide this entire row over. There's plenty of options. There's no one true. It's based on the power of your team, but this is the version of it I enjoy. X-Men. A weak Phoenix wants to be next to Colossus. A strong Phoenix wants to be away from Colossus. That's a very simple calculus. If you have a very weak Phoenix, you want her to flip so you can get more value out of her faster. If you have a very strong Phoenix, in theory, she won't flip no matter what happens, or her flip won't make a difference. So you want to be able to split the difference. I have my garbagest character, the one I don't care what happens to, which is Wolverine, splitting them off. I think these two characters are a little bit high impact. You can also make a really strong argument to keep him all the way on the other side. As a matter of fact, I've just made that argument in my head, and we're going to do it. In my head, in my brain parts, to be fair, my Cyclops has gotten a little bit stronger than he was originally. That's X-23. That's still X-23. Yeah. So now I like this placement. Keeps him as close to alive as possible. Who cares if these two guys are dying or dead? It doesn't make a difference what happens to these guys. Cyclops, Phoenix, and Colossus are the guys who are going to win the fight. If you don't have Cyclops, then stick to the keep Phoenix next to Colossus and throw idiots on the side. This isn't a team, so I'm not going to talk about it. So I think that positioning of these three characters is up in the air based on investment. I like giving Magneto the blocks from Blob, and I like having the two tanks stuck on the side so that it's very unlikely either of them are going to die. I don't really care about the rest of the characters. I just want Pyro not dying, and blocks don't matter because Pyro has 4 hit points. Pyro is basically a wet tampon in the wind. Like, he is completely fucking useless. So you want to keep him away. As far as the Guardians, Mantis would be here if not for Minn-Erva. I use this particular build of it. Don't use Gamora because she's useless. This is a very standard build of protect the two characters that do damage. And I use her just in case something bad happens. But if you have Mantis, it's kind of the same thing. What do we got here? I don't really think there's a correct placement for these characters. I just want Deadpool taking the most splash damage as possible as long as she's alive. So I want Deadpool in the middle because chaining is most likely to hit him and adjacencies are most likely to hit. I want Domino to survive as long as she can. It's both. I really don't change my positioning. There's no fundamental reason to change your war teams and your blitz teams up. If they work in one, they should work in the other. That's not 100% true all the time, but it is a good standard. So I don't really deviate from them. This team is very simple. Keep the tanks together because they can tank. They can take the hits. Keep the person who's always going to go in stealth in the middle to protect these two idiots. And as long as these guys are juking between taunts, these guys will be protected. If you aren't using this, if you're using like Coulson or S.H.I.E.L.D. Trooper or something, if you want S.H.I.E.L.D. Trooper, you want him splitting between the tanks, and then you would put S.H.I.E.L.D. Trooper between them. And then these characters would move over to be protected on the side, so you can kind of chain between those guys. Same thing with Coulson and Medic. If you were to combine that team, you would also probably lose access to a couple characters like Hawkeye and like her. So you would want Coulson between these two because it doesn't matter if he dies, and Medic to be able to keep them alive. Pym Tech team, they all have the same or similar equal value in evades, but she has the highest evade chance on the team. Like, seriously. She can just randomly evade, and she gains evades from random stuff that happens, like him taking a turn. So I like her next to the tank. Ghost is probably okay in the middle, too. I think he's a little bit squishier, so I think you could probably switch these two characters up. But I do like the core idiots in the back because they have the base dodge chance a little bit higher than the rest of them. Now, we're not talking about for, like, Dark Dimension. This is how I use this team. Ghost also counters on passive. Yeah. What do we got here? I think it's fine to I think it's reasonable to switch these, but I haven't tested it. This is actually a little bit different. This is basically the way it goes is very simple. There's a calculus for Fantastic Four. She-Hulk or otherwise, doesn't matter. Whoever she is going to reveal, like whoever has the highest hit point on average from her, like everyone go stealth except you, is on the opposite side of where Human Torch is. That's it. That's the only thing. So for a long time, it would have been Thing. So Thing would be there. If it's her, keep her as far away from him as possible. The rest doesn't really make a difference. Thing going to the middle is reasonable, but whomever she will reveal when she goes, everyone stealth except you, that's the person you want as far away from Human Torch, because again, he is a wet tampon, useless. What do we have here? Okay, there's really no correct placement for these guys, because you just want characters to die, but you don't want him to die. So figure out what makes the most sense to you. I think she's the biggest damage dealer on the team. I think he's the second biggest, and I think no one else does damage. So I want her a little bit more protected than anybody else, so I don't want a chance of you hitting one of these guys to chain to her, or AoEs to hit her as frequently. So that's how I placed it, but I don't think there's a pure right answer for this team. You just want to make sure that the characters who have to stay alive, stay alive. The characters who can afford to die, 1, 2, can die quickly. Technically even 3, because the energy will still go out. Again, Falcon and Rescue are the squishy boys. These two guys, when they spawn into the fight, have death proofs, so it's okay if they take some damage. I want these two as far away as possible from the action, and then the rest of the characters should be able to take the rest. It will be, yeah. What do we got here? This is another, you could do whatever you want. I know a lot of people like to put Coulson next to the tank because if he dies, Medic will bring him up. That's reasonable. I don't think there's a 100% right, but if you do want to do that, you could put Coulson here and switch Medic with Nick Fury. You can also put whoever you use here, Shield Assault, whatever character in this corner. Basically, you want Medic and Coulson as far away from each other as possible, because Coulson does good output of damage, but if they kill him, she will always res him and another person, so keeping her around is fine. This has been fine enough for me, but you know what? I will make the change now that we're talking about it, to be a little bit more accurate. This is technically a little better. Fury can feed energy. Yes, he could theoretically feed energy. By the time he's feeding energy, whatever blitz/war attack you use them for is irrelevant. But this is an okay placement. I did previously like the idea of Nick Fury exclusively feeding energy. Thanks for missing my sub. I'm in the middle of a YouTube video, so you can see it on YouTube later. Let's see what else we got. You want Shield Assault to die first because she already did her job. Shield Assault's presence does her job, yeah, so it doesn't matter what happens to her. Didn't take a break because I'm not doing this. So, what other things do we have? Whatever version of the YA you have, you know, you want to keep Ms. Marvel on one side, a tanky person next to Ms. Marvel, and then the damage dealers here. You can argue that keeping her on the far right will keep your team up, but like she doesn't actually matter. She's not that important to the team, so it's not a big deal. Whatever your version of Sinister Six team is, you just want to make sure that the characters that you care the most about are always next to Rhino, so that if something were to happen, he will clear the buffs with his ability. So I want debuffs on these two characters gone. I liked him from the perspective of increasing the focus on the team. If you were to use Swarm here, that's also a reasonable spot. Swarm is incredibly tanky for the early stages of the fight. So I want these guys where they need to be. I'm using Vulture because I just like Vulture. If you're using Green Goblin, you could probably put him on the other side of a Rhino. If you're not using Rhino, there's a whole bunch of motion around there. But that's pretty much the cool thing about this is like adjacencies matter sometimes and sometimes not. So as long as Doc Ock is present, you want him healing the people that you need alive, and these are some of the people you want alive for as long as the time. This team doesn't matter, but also if it did matter, it wouldn't matter. So we're not even going to talk about any version of this team, including the skill military team, because the placement on that team doesn't matter, because that team doesn't matter, and anybody who thinks that team matters doesn't come to me for advice because they're too busy like sucking on gas hoses and like licking windows. So it doesn't matter. The defender's placement is actually important, and it's going to become more important real soon. So like, you want the tank away from the guys who matter. These are the only two characters that matter on the entire team. This is it. These two. These guys just sit here for the funsies. I have him here so we can get more Punisher garbage. Why not Daredevil behind Luke Cage? Because it's a common misconception that Daredevil getting hit is the point. Daredevil has 4 fucking hit points, and he doesn't dodge nearly as much as people would believe he does. So JJ can take the fucking hits, Daredevil can't. So I want him, if anything happens, first of all, there's a misconception that Luke Cage is going to taunt. Luke Cage is the slowest character in the game. If there's a slower character than Luke Cage, I think it's a Kingpin. It doesn't matter. You don't care. And no one's going to be hitting Luke Cage. So him being next to Luke Cage is literally a dumb idea. Always was a dumb idea. Like, it was always a very small IQ decision to keep him there. You want him near Punisher, or whichever one they're going to want to kill first, your Punisher or this, because any adjacency will get extra damage out of Punisher before he dies. Oh yeah, AI Daredevil is like AI Spider-Man, best character in the game. Yeah. So this is the placement I've used. You can kind of switch these guys around without any worries because, you know, like, who's more important, him surviving or your healer surviving? To me, it's mostly him. Oh, yeah. We're back, by the way, I don't know if you guys know this, but for Blitz, we're back to see defenders, fight defenders. Because the teams that lose to defenders is, like, 2. 2 in the entire game. One of them is the defenders. AIM beats the defenders on Sim at 8-3. It's fucking absurd. And this team isn't even a good AIM team. AIM placement is very relevant. I have an entire video on it. Please check that out. But for this video, Scientist Supreme is the most important character on the team because she can keep everyone alive. The tank is the second, or the tank is the third most important character. Keep them separate. Graviton is also important, but because people are going to want to try to kill her first, I'd rather Graviton not take splash damage, so he's dead center in the middle. I don't care what happens to this idiot. He's got one of the highest health pools in the game, and this guy, every time he does his effect, people are getting speeds up. So he's speeding up the 2 guys to give them the most opportunity of healing and doing whatever they do. And he's giving offense up to Graviton. Doesn't really matter what happens here. Now, if you have Researcher would go here. No issues at all. If you have Infector, please stop using Infector. I just don't want Graviton near. I think you could justify swipping. I think you can switch them, but, like, I don't care so much about this character. Zemo Hydra, whoever this character is, doesn't matter. It's basically, like I said, the guy who could tank, garbage character, Zemo's winning the fight for you, garbage character, garbage character. None of this fucking matters. But, whoever you have here should, like, whoever the 5th character, if it's Kingpin or whatever, put him right here. Infector, no rework. Infector will be better when MODOK comes out, though. Tank, Red Skull, doesn't matter what else happens. Tank, Red Skull, put the rest of the guys wherever you fucking want. I like to put, who is this? Oh, no, that's wrong. It's not supposed to be Scientist. Good thing I caught that. It's supposed to be, Rifle Trooper next to him. Sorry, guys. Let's do this live. Yeah, it was supposed to be Hydra Rifle Trooper. I apologize. Yeah, that was my bad. I think it was like original stuff. Yeah, this is really important to, especially if he's high power, it doesn't matter. If he's low power like mine is comparatively, I want him to die often and get extra shots. If you have like a 70k Hydra rifle trooper and he's not gonna die, you want him next to him because he's likely to start healing himself and other people passively, and it's way more relevant to have a scientist. But for like my situation, he's definitely better there. Kree minions. Garbage characters, garbage characters, garbage characters, garbage characters, garbage characters. That's it, everybody. That's my Blitz teams. Hopefully this helped you build out Blitz teams and know a little bit more about positioning. Have a good night. Have a great day. I've been Tony Scungili, and I will catch you sometime in the future.